Thank you so much for joining us here today, Elena. It's a pleasure to host you on our first episode of our Tech Corner, where we're going to be highlighting some of the best technology and service providers in the industry. So I'm very excited to introduce you. You are, to me, a staple in the real estate industry when it comes to automating CRMs, helping automate workflows. I know specifically in Follow Up Boss, you're a massive influence in the community, in their online group. You are very, very insightful and helpful when it comes to sharing all the other businesses out in the industry. So we're excited to be able to highlight you today and your company, Kee Technology Solutions. So without further ado, if you could start with an introduction to yourself, your journey, and how you were inspired to start Kee Technologies.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much, Austin, for having me today. I'm very honored to not only be showcased today, but for trusting me to be the very first guest on this new series you're hosting. So thank you for entrusting me with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, our company is Kee Technology, and we help solo agents, teams, and brokerages in primary residential real estate simplify, automate, and streamline their CRMs. So this kind of predates back all the way to, I'd say, like 2015, 2016. I started from scratch learning about the real estate industry as an administrative assistant. I did all of the checklists for a very small local real estate team here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I helped them with like their pre-listing checklist. It was just like I would print out a piece of paper, and it was like, go to the property, do a property visit is what it was called. And I would go to the property, bring out a little laser pointer and measure the rooms, and go into the MLS and input all of the room measurements, create the listing description. And then my role eventually evolved into slowly marketer after the marketer quit, and then eventually evolved into operations manager. And with that role, evolved into CRM manager, and completely revamping their systems. As I went into it, I learned all about CRM. And so I worked with that real estate team for about 6 years, and I created their systems from the ground up because I realized, holy cow, these agents, like, they're just cherry picking. They're waiting for the best leads, and they're just leaving so much money on the table. So although my goal was to always help the agents get more money, I quickly became the not so liked person on the team because I was trying to keep them accountable. And I would have conversations with the agents all the time of, I'm trying to help you make more money. I'm not trying to be like a micromanager per se. And that was what the team lead entrusted me with. But I eventually evolved their CRM to have the systems and the operations, the automations, the drip campaigns that actually produce results, the actual structure in place, standard operating procedures. It was a big project over several years, 6 years. And eventually those agents left the team because the team lead just had a power struggle. Those agents really didn't want to change their ways. They saw, okay, yeah, we're losing money, but we don't want to put in the work.
Mhm.
So those agents left, and they ended up rebuilding the team. But I decided I kind of like have capped where I can be at this team. I'm getting kind of bored. Like, this is all I can do here. So then I started freelancing, helping other teams. I took what I learned there, and I just very passively worked part-time. This was right after I had my first kid, my daughter. I did like virtual assistant freelance work for agents, and then just word spread like wildfire. This was right around COVID 2020 when I did this. So it just happened so fast. It's been a wild roller coaster. So from 2020 to 2024, we're 5 years in, into the Kee Technology CRM setup. So here we are
Yes,
today.
that is amazing. Thank you for that info, and I can tell that it caught fire because anytime somebody brings up in the Follow Up Boss Facebook group, who can help me streamline and set up my CRM, your name gets like 50, 60 tags. Like, it's like Elena. So it's kudos to you because you do a great job for a lot of people when it comes to this service. And as we dive deeper into this, kind of have like a somewhat of a demo kind of going on today. So anybody that hasn't spoke to you yet or hasn't seen what you actually offer will be able to do so today. And so kudos to you for all you've been able to build over the last 4 and 5 years. Now, in terms of the CRMs that you work on, is it really Follow Up Boss in general, or do you do other CRMs as well?
Currently, we support 2 CRMs. It's been Follow Up Boss for the past 4.5 years, and we just launched for Sierra Interactive. So those are the 2 that we support, and we plan to support those 2 CRMs for quite a while. We do have plans to eventually support maybe a couple more CRMs, but when we decide to support a new CRM, it's not just like, oh, we support another one, like la-di-da. Each CRM takes a lot of brain power. I say we invest about 6 to 8 months per CRM. That's how much time we invested in Sierra, because we not only need to learn how to use the CRM, but we have to learn the best practices for setting it up. We want to consider ourselves experts at it per se. So we want to create best practices around it, how we take what we've already learned from one CRM and figure out how to apply it to the next one. So we invest a lot of time and energy to each CRM. It's not just like quick copy paste, basically.
Yep, that's great. Yeah, we actually we kind of share that at Dippidi. We support Follow Up Boss users as well as Sierra Interactive users and some others as well. But Sierra is a fantastic platform. So you've probably seen that over the last 6 to 8 months that there's a lot of opportunity there for agents that are looking to streamline some of these follow-up systems and processes that you'll be able to help them with. So what are you noticing like the biggest challenges that real estate professionals are facing when it comes to managing their CRMs, and how are you guys at Kee Technologies kind of helping address those challenges?
I'd say there's 3 main buckets people fall in. The first one is the person who is too afraid to do anything. They kind of just have a CRM and it's more of like an over glorified or a paid address book. It's better than pen and paper. It's better than a whiteboard. It's better than a Google spreadsheet, but it's just one very little step above a Google spreadsheet. They've entered their contacts, but then that's it. They may be using a couple of follow-up tasks, but they're putting more work, or the CRM is creating more work for them than the CRM is working for them. So they're having to do a lot of manual work. They're too afraid to automate anything because they're too afraid that they'll send the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time. They're too afraid to let go of anything. So they're just creating more work for themselves. The second bucket is someone, or I'll skip the second, I'll go to the third. The third is on the opposite end. And the third one is the person who's like doing anything and everything. They're signing up for every integration partner. They're signing up for every lead generation. They're signing up for every workshop and implementing everything they see. And they still don't even know what's going on anymore in their CRM. And so there's just so much stuff happening that things are canceling each other out. They've got multiple things happening at once. And so bucket number 1's worst nightmare is happening to bucket number 3, because people are getting like 5 emails at the same time, 10 text messages at the same time, 20 tasks at the same time. They've got 100 smart lists in Follow Boss or 100 smart filters in Sierra Interactive. And there's just so much happening that they don't even know what's going on anymore. So that's bucket number 3. And then bucket number 2 is like somewhere in the middle. They've got some things going on, but they know they're not fully utilizing their CRM. So that's where I would say people struggle the most, is they don't know where to find that balance, whether they're paralyzed by fear or they're just super shiny object syndrome and they're doing way too much things and they don't know what's happening anymore. Or bucket number 2 is they've done a couple of things, but they really don't know what the best practice is for setting up their CRM.
Love it. Yeah, that was super good explanation there, because those are a lot of the pain points that people are having, and you nailed it on the head. And so what can you like walk us through a process of, all right, these people have these pain points, this is going on, they find you in the Follow Up Boss group, or they find you through your website, and they want to potentially become a new client. What's the process look like when becoming a new client, and how do you assess what their needs are and implement your solutions?
Yeah, the easiest way for someone to take a look, for us to see if we're a good fit for them, is to do an audit with us. So we do a free audit of their CRM, whether it's Follow Up Boss or Sierra. We go into the back end. We take a look at how they're managing their follow-up first. We see how many tasks they have going on. Do they have 1,000 overdue tasks? That's a good telltale sign that they are managing their follow-up or they aren't doing any follow-up at all, and they just have the task there to feel good that they've created some sort of task system, whether it's automated or manual, but they aren't able to keep up. Or if they're using smart lists or smart filters, but they just have a ton of people there, but they're not calling. And then we also take a look at if they're using any action plans or not, and how those are performing. Maybe they have a couple of emails or text messages in that action plan, but there's a very low response rate. Oftentimes when we do an audit, it's either DIY'd, where the agent has created their own because they've tried to do their own copywriting, or they've gone to ChatGPT to try to write their own drip, or they bought something on Etsy, or they buy some program that they were advertised to them on Facebook, on a Facebook ad. There's just so many now with like advertising different drip campaigns and programs. But oftentimes we'll see that those drips just have a very low engaged or response rate. So we're able to quickly see transparently, like, you've sent this to 200 people and one person's responded. So it's just very transparent there that there's a big gap between what's being sent and then the performance there. And then we ask them, like, what types of clients do you work with? We look at the different audiences, the segments, because different agents work with different types of clients and have different buckets of people. Some agents, they do lead generation and they generate leads online. They work with businesses like you, Dippidi, to generate leads on Facebook or Google PPC. So they need campaigns for those different types of leads. Or maybe they generate leads from Realtor.com or Zillow, or there's those big box type lead generation services, and they need campaigns for those leads. Or maybe they're more SOI influenced or past client, and they need campaigns for that. So we work with them after the audit and do a call with them to figure out what's your business model, who do you want to focus on, what audiences do you want to focus on, as well as like the middle ground. That's where a lot of people get lost, as you got these lead sources, but then who do you need to nurture in the middle?
Yep.
That's where people get lost. You may have a conversation with someone up front, but if they're not ready to transact right away, which is 95% of people, what do you do in the middle? That's where the majority of your database is. So let's figure out those buckets there. If you talk to an internet lead and you find out they're a buyer, which is the majority of the leads you're going to get, what's your strategy? Most of the time we put them either on like a general nurture buyer campaign, or if they end up being a renter who's considering buying, we have a long-term, I think it's 2.5-year drip for renter to future buyer. Wow. Or maybe you're in a luxury market, then we have a segmented luxury drip for buyers or for sellers. So it's very dependent on the types of segmented client base that they serve. So it's twofold. We very much prefer to do the audit first, so we have a clear understanding of their CRM and what current state it is in, and then we do the call to have that collaborative conversation.
Awesome. So when it comes to, I want a demo here, and on your demo, what all do you think you could share with us today, doing somewhat of like a presentation demo?
Yeah, I'm happy to share my screen and kind of show you Follow-Up Boss, and then I'll show you a little bit on Sierra as well.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So the Follow-Up Boss screen you're seeing here, I'm beta testing a couple of features. So depending on when this gets released, you may or may not see a couple of these things in Follow-Up Boss in your account currently, as it might be a little bit different. So what I'm currently beta testing is the new beta feature of the Smart List view. So Smart List currently in Follow-Up Boss are on the top view. Right now they're beta testing a left view with folders. So I'm super excited about that. You'll be able to manage a lot more Smart Lists. But the fun stuff is the automations, but we prioritize the daily expectations and the daily workflow of the agents and the ISAs on a team within a company, or even if you're a solo agent, we prioritize your daily workflow, because even though you've got wonderful automations going in the background, unless you're putting in the work, the automations are not going to really do anything for you. Sure, they're going to prompt responses and they're going to supplement, but they're not going to convert leads for you. You still have to put in the work. And so you need an easy to understand, easy segmented way to manage your follow-up. So like I mentioned, a lot of people fall into three buckets where they either have nothing going on or they have everything going on. And the downside of using tasks is they compile on really quickly. So traditionally, if agents are using tasks to manage their follow-up, they can have tons of tasks. So I've got like 3 tasks going on for things that smart lists don't manage or don't cover. And the majority of tasks that we have in our CRM for our entire team are for our admin or for our virtual assistant. But that's it. Everyone else on our team who are in sales, they manage their follow-up in smart lists. Otherwise, if you're familiar with your own follow-up systems, you'll know very quickly if you miss a day's worth of tasks, you're going to quickly get 25 overdue tasks, 50, 100, 1,000. So, and that can just bog you down really quickly. So all that to say, first step is setting up smart lists so you can prioritize who to call. Depending on what your tech stack looks like, we initially start out your smart list setup with 10. But then if you add on additional integrations like Ylopo, Fellow, Real Scout, those are 3 of our biggest examples. You can also incorporate like texting platforms like Structurally, Call Action, Texting Betty, just to name a few, or if you use like Conversion Monster, we have extra smart lists for that. But our base is our 10 smart list to segment who to call, and they're numbered in order of priority. So number 1 being your current clients. We want to make sure that your active clients, that your buyers you're currently showing property to, or your sellers that are listed, or your pending clients that are under contract are taken care of first before you move on to your prospecting. And then you move on to your daily prospecting. So list number 2, we call it new leads, no call attempt. These are the leads that are new in your database that you have not yet called. Now I'm showing you my account as the demo. We do a terrible job at our smart lists because we do not have the same business model as y'all. We don't have ISAs. We don't do outbound reach. We just get a lot of inbound appointments being set. We're a virtual company. We're not a real estate team. So please don't judge us for the fact that we still have 22 people on our list. But in your world, you need to have this cleared out to 0. And then you can see that the list goes on to, okay, once you do attempt to reach the lead, then they'll automatically disappear. The next day they go to list number 3. They disappear once you call again, then they show up again and again and again until they're no longer new. Then they move on to a different list. So leads automatically disappear, then show up in a different list depending on various filters that we set up in the smart lists. And the same applies to Sierra. And this is a Sierra demo account. In this case, we don't have any leads to share, but it's a similar process. We've got the current clients, new leads, no call attempt, high priorities, back to website, prime watch, archive, past client sphere, old leads. And the whole goal is to segment who to call in order of priority, because if you are to visualize this, if we were to change all of these to tasks, look at the number next to each list. You've got 37, 24, 499, 190, 190, 135, 1,000 past clients, 88, 701, 5,000, 97, 12, and so on. If you combine all of those, you would have like 7,000, 8,000 people in your task list. That's just not manageable at all. And so if you can say, okay, the daily expectation is to get through at least the first 5 smart lists, because those are the most important, then you're off to a pretty good start. That's what we tell our clients is if you can at least get through the first 5, those are your biggest priority, then that's great. If you can dedicate a couple days out of the month to get through the rest, then that's great. But the first 5 are the top priority. So smart lists or smart filters, depending on your CRM, are the first part of what we do, just so that on the front end view for what the agents do and what their daily expectation is, they know exactly what to do. So this is tried and true and tested of what works best and what the top performing agents and teams do in their CRM for managing their follow-up. But does that first part make sense of how we recommend managing follow-up via smart lists or smart filters in the CRM?
Absolutely. Yeah, because they can be dynamic as well. So for instance, if you were to set there last call was in X amount of days, they could technically go in those smart lists, make those calls, and it would take them out of the list. So they know that you actually want that at 0, right? So once that's at 0, then it refills that over time when it meets those behaviors again. So that makes total sense that the smart lists need to be the foundational piece of the CRM. So what's next?
Yeah. So now for the fun part are the action plans and automations. So the whole goal of the action plans and automations is to supplement what the agents and or ISAs are doing to call. We want to prompt responses. So a lot of testing has been done for our copywriting and action plans. And we found that reply-based emails that ask a question get the highest response rate, which makes sense. You ask a question, you prompt a response, hence the name reply-based email, gets the highest response rate. That's the whole goal. You want to get someone to actually respond to an email so you can start a conversation. You don't want to just get an open. You want to get an actual response. You don't want to just get a click. You want to get someone to actually respond to you. So I will show some examples. Bear with me. We've got quite a lot here. And because of that, sometimes Follow Up Boss can be a bit slow, but Follow Up Boss is fast for everyone else. We just have so many in here, it's slow for us. So let's take, for example, our, let's say you generate a new buyer lead from someone like Dippidi. Again, we just have so many. It's taking me a second to find our regular new buyer lead plan. New buyer lead. And if you don't mind just editing out the wait times, because ours is kind of painfully slow because we just have so many.
Nah, no worries. You're fine. Yes, I can only imagine. How many do you have in there?
I don't know anymore. Thousands. Okay, here's an example. If you generate a buyer lead online, and we customize the initial messagings, just depend on exactly where they come from, exactly what they're inquiring about. But let's pretend this is a buyer lead coming from Facebook, inquiring about a specific home for sale. The initial text message, for compliance reason, has an official introduction to who you are. So for compliance, we say, this is Elena with ABC Realty. We do that for compliance reasons. I just received your request from Facebook for the home at 123 Main Street. Another reason you want to do that besides compliance is when you use the dialer from either Follow Up Boss or from Sierra, you have a higher likelihood that your caller ID is going to show Kee Technology or Elena, because whenever the text went out before you call, the person's mobile carrier reads that text message and uses that as a hint that actually might be your name. So it's another reason to have that introduction there. Just a side note. I just received your request from Facebook for the home at 123 Main Street. For another compliance reason, we have to have that opt-out message. If you'd rather I don't text you, just tell me to stop. Is this the best number to reach you on? You might think that's a really silly question. Of course it is. That's the number they gave me when they registered. But people's knee-jerk reaction is to say yes, because that's a very easy question to answer. You want to make it easy because the form that they registered on was easy. And number one, if they say yes, you verify that that is indeed the right number and they didn't give you a bogus number or a fake number or someone else's number. And then number two, you have permission to contact them and they've engaged with you. At the same time, we tag them as a buyer so that in the future, if we change the stage, we can trigger a different chip, which I'll show you in a second. And then we send an email. Something pretty similar. I just received a request regarding a home for sale. What's prompting your interest in this home? A very easy question to ask that gets a fairly high response rate. But if the lead doesn't respond, then we'll send something else. This one is a little bit longer, but again, we've found that plain text emails that are short, that ask a question, get the highest response rate. If you're anything like me, you may or may not recognize that phrase. We are very heavily inspired by the communication style of Phil Jones, author of Exactly What to Say. And we are very heavily inspired by the copywriting style of Jimmy Mackin. So you'll see both of their writing styles trickle throughout. If you're anything like me, you want to stay informed on how the real estate market is performing, the average price homes are selling for, and how competitive the market is for buyers. So right there is you're coming from a place of value. We write emails that are not in it for me, the agent. It's what's in it for them, coming in from a place of value there. Would it be helpful if, that's another Phil Jones phrase, we scheduled a time to chat to discuss the current market conditions and how they relate to your goals? So they're very likely to respond to that because it's valuable to the lead, to the consumer, not valuable to me, the agent. One more example, if I had a home that checked off all of your must-haves and the price was within your budget, would you want to make an offer? And then we finally send, learn more about me. This drip campaign in particular lasts 2 years long. You may think that's overkill, but I've heard time and time again from our clients that they used to think that, and then someone, or I hear often that leads will respond 6 months later, 1 year later, a year and a half later, because they were either reading the emails or they weren't responding, or they hadn't been reading their email inbox and then they did open their email. And because these drip campaigns have been consistently sending emails, and as a result, you're always at the top of their inbox. When they do open their email inbox, you're at the top. And why not continue to drip them for that long if when they, one, open their email inbox, you're going to be at the top, but two, it's free. You already have their email. Why not email them, especially if you're following best practices, they've opted in, and you're compliant and you have high deliverability if you're following compliance and you've done all of your domain verification and all of that fun stuff that goes over my head, but I've hired someone who knows all of that fun stuff. Why not? It's free. Your ROI is 100% if they decide to close with you. That's just one example, but we have a whole slew of action plans. Like I mentioned, just depending on your business model, that new buyer plan lasts 2 years long. And after it finishes, if the lead still doesn't respond, we have a stale, or what you can call revive campaign that lasts a year long that automatically starts at the end. Let me go back to sharing this screen one more time. We do a similar cadence if you generate a seller lead. So you'll notice some similarities here. For a seller lead, we ask something very similar. I received your request for real estate agent from wherever they came from for 123 Main Street, whatever their property address is. Is this the best number to reach you on? Because again, that gets a high response rate. If you're curious what I mean by high response rate, our new buyer lead action plan with just the one initial text message and then the email campaign gets a 57% response rate. When we couple SMS drip with email campaign and follow up us to couple SMS drip with email campaign, you use a third-party texting platform. Like right now we partner with Texting Buddy, Lead Engage, and Street Text. Soon we'll be partnering with Call Action and Agent Legend. That response rate bumps up to, I believe it's 70 something percent. On the seller side, and you just do one initial text message in the email drip, it's a 44% response rate. When you couple drip text, it goes up to 73%.
Yeah, big difference.
Yeah, big difference there. Now with Sierra, you get the drip texting already included in the drip because that's built into the CRM. So here's a couple examples from that new seller lead campaign. Again, you probably recognize this initial question here. I'm curious, what prompted your interest to inquire about selling your property? So on the buyer side, it's what prompted your interest in that property that was for sale. On the seller side, it's what prompted your interest to inquire about selling your property. And then the next one is flip-flopping the language. If you're anything like me, you want to stay informed on how the real estate market is performing, average price properties are selling for, and how competitive the market is for sellers. Before I said for buyers, now we're saying for sellers. And then it's the exact same question. It might feel like you're alone with the questions you have. Selling a property can be overwhelming. Would it be helpful if we connect you with fun about your questions? So we use a very similar framework for buyers and sellers. We're just switching out a couple of words. and it works for both ways. So the whole goal is to supplement the entire life cycle of the lead, from a brand new lead, just buyer or seller. We have so many different types of new leads. I could bore you to death. We have so many SOPs we have pages and pages. I think it's 30 pages of different new lead plans. I'm just showing you the generic version, but we have 30 different SOPs for 30 different pages of SOPs for different types of lead sources, because there are just so many out there today of different types of leads people generate out there. But then once you generate the lead, all the different types of nurture campaigns you have for sure. You reach the lead, but then what? Nurture buyer, nurture seller, nurturing your sphere. That would be for people that are your personal friends or family that have not necessarily said that they want to buy or sell, but you need some sort of way to keep in touch with them. That one took me 3 years to write.
Wow.
That one was a really hard project for me because you want to come from a place of value, but you don't want to be salesy. So that took me a long time to write. So we're not just chat GPTing this. Like, a lot of time and effort's going into creating these drip campaigns. And these campaigns did not just happen overnight. Nurturing expireds, that one we wrote just last year. That one was a year-long project. Nurturing FSBOs. These are for people that you've connected with, not a cold outreach, that are currently listed for FSBO but are considering selling with an agent. Luxury buyers, luxury sellers, nurturing new construction buyers, nurturing probate, nurturing investor buyers, nurturing land buyers, nurturing investment property owners. So lots of different segmented audiences there, just due to the complexities of the real estate industry and the different types of audiences and clients that agents serve, comes this space of the need for different types of drip campaigns. But this all may look very complicated, but again, going back to your daily expectations are go to your smart list, open up the people screen, or in Sierra, go to your lead screen, open up the lead, make your call, tag them what their client type is. So that would just be either buyer or expired or FSBO, whatever audience they fit into, that's the tag you use, and then change the stage. And if you do the call, the tag, the stage, then that's how the CRM knows that they're in the right drip campaign. So from new lead to nurture to beyond closing, which lasts 11 years long, the goal is that the cycle just keeps repeating.
Love it. This has been super beneficial. So we got to see the action plans. And I know you actually do like a lot of automations too. Do you typically kind of share what that looks like? Or is that more of like the back end of the action plan of like, when this happens, then this is just going to fire to this action plan kind of scenario? What's the automation side of things look like?
Yeah, I'm happy to share automations. Let me scroll past our personal KTS automations. I practice what I preach. We use a lot of automation internally. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, for anybody looking at the screen right now, I mean, this is a lot of automation. It's awesome that you really do practice what you preach.
Yes, I'm creating at least 1 or 2 new automations a day, just like we should be automating that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let's just take, for example, there are so many different integration partners, where they send the lead like an automated valuation report, whether it's Ylopo or Real Scout or Fellow. I'm sure I'm missing some. But they'll send the report. And when that happens, let me just try to find the regular one. I have so many variations here. When that happens, here's just a couple examples for like Real Scout. A tag gets added to the profile. We have some conditions because you don't want to always automate a plan. You want to send the automated drip campaign to the right person at the right time. So just because someone looked at the report doesn't mean you always want to email them, or else you're going to be pissing someone off. That's, if you remember the 3 buckets, that was bucket number 1's top fear was, I don't want to automate anything because I don't want to piss anyone off. So we have conditions in here to only include specific stages. So that's why it's very important that anytime you go through your smart lists or in Sierra, your smart filters, you update the stage if necessary, because the automation and follow-up boss in Sierra is checking for these conditions. We're checking for specific stages for lead, hot, warm, or cold. And this, I'm actually showing you the wrong automation, but we're usually checking for lead, hot, warm, or cold stages. We usually exclude these. That's why I know I'm showing you the wrong one. We're not using this one. But we check for lead, hot, warm, or cold, renter, future buyer. We exclude the active client stage and the pending stage, the closed stage, the contact stage, the past client stage. And we also exclude people that are newer leads. The new leads are already on a new lead drip, so we don't need to be double dripping them. They don't need to be on a new lead drip and a automated valuation drip. And we don't need to be dripping someone that has been recently spoken to. So because this drip is sort of like a new semi-cold reach out. Because if I show you what it looks like, it says, thanks for looking at the automated valuation engagement. Was it too high, too low, or just right? And then the next one explains it's just a starting point for understanding the valuation. It can be off by several thousands of dollars. So if it's someone you just talked to, or if it's someone who you're currently working with, or someone you just closed with, you don't need to explain this to them. You don't need to drip them. This is not someone you need to prospect. So that's one example of how the automation works. Another example is, so that one's fully automated. That doesn't require anything manual to happen. Like that doesn't require the agent to do anything. That's just based on the third-party integration, detecting the activity from the lead. But if we look at luxury buyer, we have so many again. Luxury buyer stage. That's what I'm looking for. If the lead's stage is changed to hot, warm, or cold, and the lead is tagged as a luxury buyer, so going back to the daily expectations of an agent, they need to tag the lead as a luxury buyer, so that follow-up boss knows this isn't just a buyer, this is a luxury buyer, and change the stage to hot, warm, or cold. That's how follow-up boss knows, okay, we start the luxury buyer drip. We do have some exclusions here to exclude someone tagged as a past client. So that means we have an automation. I'm getting into the weeds a little bit here, but we have an automation where if someone previously closed with this agent or with this team, and they were previously staged as a past client, we tag them as a past client. That way they aren't dripped again, because the feedback was like, if they get dripped again in a nurture action plan, feels a little bit impersonal at that point, because they have a very close relationship with this person. So we exclude previous past clients that are now nurtures again. And we also exclude sphere that are now nurtures. So
that makes sense.
It's little nuances that we've created over the past few years that are included in the automations.
I feel like it's safe to say that you have thought this out very, very, very
a lot of
meticulously.
Yeah, there's quite a lot in here. And we're always learning. It's not perfect. Just last week, we thought we had it all set up perfectly, but we learned that there were like 4 CTAs possible on a Real Scout page, and it had never happened before. But then one lead clicked all 4 at once, and then it triggered 4 action plans. And we're like, okay, we got to put in more conditions to prevent that from happening. It's like last action plan email sent more than an hour ago. So it's just constantly learning and growing and
optimizing it. And so when that happens, do you just kind of push that amongst all of your clients that you currently have and try to make sure that gets updated in their accounts?
Yeah, we do what's called like a quarterly update. We do it every 3 months. If we did it automatic or immediately, that you would just get bombarded, because we do an update like every day. You would just get bombarded with so many emails from us. So we do it once a quarter. We gather up all of our probably 30, it was a total of like 100 updates this past quarter. And we make it optional. We say, do you want these 100 updates? Select the ones you want, and then we'll go into your account and do it. So
Amazing.
although it's like a one-time setup, once you're a client forever. We're not like a subscription model service, but we offer lifetime email support and then the optional quarterly update announcements that we send out, and you can opt in for those.
Amazing. So people, if they were interested in kind of looking into further into getting this set up in their account, it's a one-time fee to get set up with all of these action plans, automations, everything like that.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's why people really value working with us, is we don't have like a forced subscription model. It's like a one-time setup. You work with us for up to 90 days where you get 2 to 5 one-on-one calls, just depending on what you sign up for with us. And then you get access to office hours that are held 3 times a week, where you can ask us anything. You get your dedicated success manager where you can email them any questions beyond the 90 days. And then, of course, you have the option to extend if you want more training beyond those 90 days. But then beyond that, there's no subscription.
Love it. Love it. And so if somebody were interested in working with Kee Technologies or learning more about Kee Technologies, what's the best route they should take? What's the best first step?
Yeah, depending on the CRM you either currently use or you're curious about using. If you are currently using Follow Up Boss or you're curious about using Follow Up Boss, you can go to keetechnology.com. If you use Sierra, you still go to keetechnology.com. You just go to keetechnology.com/Sierra. We'll eventually combine the two into one web page. We just haven't done so quite yet.
Yeah, no worries at all. That's amazing. And then in terms of like everything coming up with Kee Technologies, is there anything you'd like to share, like that you're currently working on and maybe you want to give a sneak peek on, or that is kind of down in the roadmap of where things are heading?
Yeah, we just recently launched a TC setup for Follow Up Boss, transaction management setup.
Wow.
So for people who either are struggling with pen and paper, again, like just with your CRM setup, pen and paper for managing your transactions, or you're tired of paying for a third-party platform for managing your checklist or your transactions, we've partnered with Shay Heron, who's the intellectual property. She's been very successfully managing her team's transactions with her transaction coordinator. I think it's 400 transactions a year.
Wow.
So if you have 400 transactions a year and you're skeptical, it is possible to use Follow Up Boss for that. So right now it's just for Follow Up Boss. You can now manage transactions through our help. And that, again, is a one-time build. We do have plans to eventually support it with transaction coordinators, but that's down the road. And then the potential to create an accountability system in Follow Up Boss. And then also the potential to provide, I probably shouldn't say this, I'll get in trouble, but the potential to provide fractional COO service, but that is down the road as well. And the Real Estate Coaching Collective is something that we've also recently launched.
Yes.
Not sure if you saw that, but that's ongoing deep dive sessions into all aspects of real estate. My lane is CRM optimization, but partnered with other people in the industry who have their own specialties in the real estate industry.
Love it. Yep, I've seen that as well, and that's a very exciting a new announcement. I would say within the past month, right? That's kind of been announced.
Yeah, we quietly launched it right after Unlock, and we were just like slowly been releasing it. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, for anybody that doesn't know, how many agents have you set this up for?
I think to date we have 2,600 clients. So that could be solo agent, that could be team, or that could be brokerage.
Yeah. So for anybody listening right now, she has done, your team and you have done this for 2,600 agents. It's very tried and true, very proven, very thought through. I absolutely recommend setting up a time to chat with Elena and her team about Kee Technology Solutions and what they offer. Elena, thank you so much for your time today. This has been so insightful, so helpful to even see inside a Follow Up Boss account, all the things you set up. I mean, just scrolling through all the action plans, all the automations. I mean, it's very, very impactful. And every agent, in my opinion, if they're getting into CRM, this is like the foundation that they should be putting in their Follow Up Boss or Sierra Interactive account. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Austin. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks. Take care.